Hi, I'm Randy Cantrell. Welcome to the Year of the Peer podcast with Leo Bottary. This podcast is based on a simple truth. Who you surround yourself with matters. Author and keynote speaker Leo Bottary will interview thought leaders from all walks of life who will share how they leverage peer advantage and show you how engaging your peers more purposefully can hold the key to greater success in business and in life. Today's guest is Claude Silver. Claude is Vayner Media's Chief Heart Officer, the capstone of a career focused on guiding relationships, global brand strategies, operations, and management. An abiding passion for creating spaces in which people can thrive defined her previous leadership positions at JWT London, Publicis London, Say Media, and Organic, among others. At Vayner Media, Claude cultivates the heart of the agency's success, its people. With a purview that includes staff relations, development, recruitment, and retention, each practice is underscored by Claude's drive to unlock the interprofessional potential of every Vayner Media employee. We welcome Claude to the show.
Claude Silver, welcome to the program. Welcome to Year of the Peer podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Leo, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege. Great to see you.
Well, we've had a number of guests on this year talking about the fact that who you surround yourself with matters. They're from all different walks of life. They've been scholars, authors, CEOs. None of them have had the title of Chief Heart Officer. So I want to talk a little bit about that, of course. But I want to start really by just giving everyone, I think a lot of people may have a sense of what Vayner Media does, but I think, the company's certainly grown quite a bit, which makes the people issue that we're going to talk about so crucial. But I'd love for you just to start by giving an overview of Vayner Media, and then we'll get into some of the other things that I'd like to talk with you about.
Great. Terrific. Well, Vayner Media was founded by Gary Vaynerchuk, who is still very much our CEO. We are almost 800 people, headquartered in New York with 2 big offices right now. Also have a small office in Denver, Colorado, a large office in LA, Chattanooga, which I'm in today, and London, which is almost at 50 people. We are a digital-first creative shop. We started first as a social media agency, and we're creating a lot of micro content for our brands. And fortunately for us, we have expanded our creds and our girth and our skill set and expertise to really be working with some top Fortune 50, Fortune 10 brands now, taking them into the digital world. We've got Gary as a real backbone, an incredible marketer, and an incredible sales genius, who's really, really flipped, I believe, the world of marketing on its head. He's been saying for a while now, every single person, every single company or brand needs to become a media agency. And we really have those capabilities now in-house with a very robust media wing, paid media wing, video production, strategy, account, project management, you name it. So our aim is to be the number one, best company at creating for the mobile device, creating video, creating long form, creating short form video content. And that's what we aim to do.
Nice. So one of the things, obviously, that you've grown very quickly. I think in many companies, even as we look at the C-suite, oftentimes the number 2 or the kind of de facto number 2 in the company is often either the CFO or the Chief Operating Officer. And in your case, obviously, because people are such a centerpiece to the company, and obviously getting the right people on board, particularly when you're growing so quickly, has been so crucial that really, as Chief Heart Officer, you play that role, as number 2. And before I get into, what that looks like in your company, I want to draw, I guess, a little bit of a parallel with a book that was very important to me when I started my small public relations firm back in 1995. I owned the firm from 1995 to 2000, sold it. But I was very influenced by a book called The Customer Comes Second, written by Hal Rosenbluth and Diane McFerrin-Peters. And what I found fascinating about the book, and I remember writing to him after, once I started the company, saying, I want to use these principles that you talked about in this book and really build my organization. And it wasn't because I was just trying to be a nice guy or something like that. I mean, I really saw the practical aspects of how it could help grow our business and make us more profitable, quite frankly. And I think, there were some parallels there, but, one of the things about the book was I remember reading the introduction, and it's like the customer comes second. Of course, your employees comes first because they're the ones delivering this amazing service that you want to have delivered to your customers or clients. And yet, so it's like, okay, I get it. So what's the rest of the book? What could it possibly be about? And so I guess what I want to know for you is, we know you've got your chief heart officer, you're number 2 in the company, people matter, but in your organization, and they're the centerpiece of it all. I'd love to know, I guess, what that looks like inside your company. So give us, kind of in the same way Hal Rosenbluth described in the pages and the chapters to follow, give us a sense of what a real people-centric organization looks and feels like.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So I'm going to jump right in and tell you that our organization looks like a heck of a lot of collaboration. We sit in open offices, and so we're dialoguing constantly with our teams, with the pods that we sit on, with people. There's a real camaraderie here. My belief is that our employees want to make each other and turn each other into champions. I firmly, firmly believe that. We come from a culture of we, not I, which is really, really important. Putting people first obviously means that I am spending all of my time with people in one-on-ones, in town halls. I'm doing coaching sessions. I'm helping people find their purpose, removing roadblocks, dealing with grief, dealing with anxiety, dealing with people, like life on life's terms. Gary is as well. And we have open door policy doesn't even cut it, quite frankly. I mean, that the door is flung open. The phone is on 24/7. We care. And because that has come down from Gary 8.5 years ago, he created the culture. We are going to be a culture where we put people first. Okay, my job now is to make sure the soil bed, the flower bed is getting its nutrients, getting the learning and development they need, getting the conversations that they desire, understanding where growth and development works for them. I've got a wonderful team that works with me. They're HR generalists, if you will, and they're spending their time in one-on-ones or in small groups, making sure that communication is flowing, that people are having conversation about what is going on with them. And I really do believe that we are teaching not only digital social marketing skills and really turning grad students into PhD students, but we are teaching life skills here. I have never, ever experienced an organization in 20, 25 years of working where not only do we put people first, but we care. We want to connect. We want to build trust. We want to feel each other. We want to be empathetic. Those 3 things together, connection. So we're human beings. We all are wired to belong. Connection plus trust plus empathy and kindness equals amazing, amazing things. Amazing things happen. And so that's really, I hope I gave you some flavor of what it looks like. It's a very friendly, warm place.
I think a lot of listeners would probably want to know, like, in the case of the company I had, we were a dozen people, and it was a small PR firm at the time. So I do marvel at this idea of how do you scale a culture like that? So what has been the key, you think, to, being where it started maybe with a single employee, a founder, and now you're close to 800 people are in that ballpark. How are you able to scale that and not only maybe maintain that culture, but even strengthen that culture?
Yeah, that's the number one question I get all the time, and it's a great question because there is no magic trick to it. It just takes work. It takes listening, and it takes being available. So we believe that our success happens to be founded around or grounded in one-on-ones at scale. So I just mentioned to you that I do an enormous amount of one-on-ones. If I'm doing a one-on-one with you and we unlock something in you, or we find your guiding principle, or we remove roadblock, who knows? You go back to your desk and you feel charged, and you're going to then spread that. You're not going to be negative. You're not going to be cynical. You're going to be positive, and you're going to be amped, and you're going to spread that. So that is part of the scaling of the heart. That is part of the scaling of this people first idea. So as I mentioned earlier, I have a team that's also doing one-on-ones. And I have a team in Los Angeles that's doing one-on-ones, and one in London that's doing one-on-ones. I use Slack and Google Hangouts constantly, text message, phone, whatever. And I travel, and so does Gary. And so what we believe is that if an employee needs something, and sometimes they don't know what they need, so we're just scheduling one-on-ones with them based on being offensive and proactive, they leave that office or they leave that walk with me feeling better than they came in. That creates scale. That is literally the halo effect. It is. You're talking to someone that is incredibly optimistic and positive, and so is Gary. So I don't believe I have rose-colored glasses. I believe that I believe in what we are doing. I believe that when you put people first and you scale that, you create the dividends are immeasurable.
Well, speaking of positive and optimistic, I saw a speech Gary gave pretty recently in San Francisco where he talked about that your company is very much a yes culture. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about a yes culture and what you see as the real value and benefit of that, not only for the individuals, for themselves, who obviously love to hear yes, but also for the organization as well.
The great thing about Gary is that he's an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs have one word imprinted on their mind, which is yes, possibility, openness, expansiveness, and that carries forth into our company. Living inside of a culture that is all about yes means that for the most part, there's enormous runway to create whatever it is you want to create. There is no cookie cutter standard way of running an account. There is no cookie cutter way of having a one-on-one. Everything is in the present moment, which is really it's an incredible place to play in, because that means you're co-creating an experience with someone. It's not my way or your way, it's our way. So living inside of a culture that says yes and is full of possibility allows people to create their careers in many ways. Yes, you might be an account director, but you have carte blanche to do so much. You might want to transfer from being on the account team to the project management team. We will make that happen. It might not happen tomorrow, but with patience and playing the long game, it will happen. There is never, I really can't say that I've experienced no. I really can't. And so the power of living inside of this house of yes and living with Gary, who's an entrepreneur, is extraordinary. And speaking for someone that has worked in a lot of agencies before, where you get no first, this is such a breath of fresh air. It's the possibilities are endless. You know, the world is your oyster, and we want to help you form what that world might look like inside of Vayner Media. That's at least what we can touch.
Right. So, I'd love to get a sense too of one of the things that we learned through our research in the Power of Peers is that whether it's a high-performing group, high-performing team, the highest performing among them typically consist of people who aren't just accountable, to the boss or to the leader. They're really accountable. They're in it for one another in a really big way. So, on one hand, I see this, this amazing approach and attitude you have toward your people. What I guess I want to get a sense of is, how do you get them to actually have that for one another also, so that they build that kind of trust and camaraderie, and I guess winning and yes attitude that you talk about?
So we're very cliche, and we use phrases such as one team, one dream. We like each other, Leo. This is a company that is filled with people that like one another, and I actually believe they like one another more because of the possibilities, because I don't have to be just like you. and you don't have to be just like me. And so thus I can use all of my power and my magic and my passion to be your champion. So not only does that work in teams and team dynamics when it's we before I, but it works in just individuals. Absolutely. When you see that type of camaraderie. And so, we really try to help people find their purpose, and once they find their purpose or they land on something that makes them feel like, yes, I'm in the right space, I'm achieving something, and I'm finding success, and boy, oh boy, maybe I got a little bit of acknowledgement from my buddy or from my manager, like that makes people come alive. So much so that they want to do it again. We create a very safe space at Vayner Media. For the most part, my number one job every single day is creating a safe place where people feel psychologically and physically safe. They want to belong. If they're a person of color, we need more people of color. If they're LGBTQ, we have an LGBTQ group. They like Dungeons and Dragons, we got a Dungeons and Dragons club. We have something for everyone. We're a microcosm. So when you have that, fundamentally, it's the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. When you have safety and security, everything else is possible. And that means I can play with you. I don't have to be like you. But I want to do good for you, and you want to do good for me. And it is not perfect every day, and it is not perfect every hour. We're without a doubt a work in progress. But I don't believe in this case we're flying the plane as we're building it. I believe the foundations of how we put people first are absolutely in place.
So in the face of all this, incredible culture and great collaboration, I'm sure it's not without conflict. So I guess describe how you see conflict manifesting in your organization. What's your attitude about it? Is it a necessary part of the creative process in many respects? And how do you feel conflict actually works in your organization?
I heard this quote yesterday, and the quote said, "Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life." And I really chewed on that quote quite a bit, because no one at face value will take discomfort. I'd like, free and easy. I'd like that trip to Bali. Thank you very much. But if you flip discomfort on its head and look at it as hard work, working hard, putting some muscle into it, if I change that sentence to hard work is the price of admission for a meaningful life, it feels much better for me. It really, really does. So we are 80% millennials, which is phenomenal. Yeah. Millennials are, they are full of vim and vigor and energy and desire to learn, to soak up, and to climb the ladder, and to get from A to Z within a blink of an eye. Not like my Generation X people. I'm part of the slacker generation. At times, I do believe that type of personality can find conflict within themselves, because they don't understand why they're not moving faster. They don't understand why their buddy over here may have just gotten that promotion and they didn't. And again, that goes back to me saying it's not apples to apples. We may have the same role, but we're going to be at different spectrums, and we're going to be learning at different speeds. So that in itself creates a little bit of strife, and I tell you what, Leo, what I found with this generation as well is they share everything. They share how much money they're making. They share the they share the what their friend just got at our competitor. They share what their raise just was. It is incredible, and again, something I never experienced before. So I go on with the assumption that everyone knows everything about everyone, and that is going to create a little bit of a bit of strife. We don't have Lord of the Flies. It's not anarchy. It's not Mutiny on the Bounty. None of that. But we do have blips in the screen. We also have blips in the screen when we do things such as go from what might have been a coddling environment in years past to a caring environment. So let me give you an example. We have not been an agency that gave a lot of feedback to one another. For whatever reason, we're nice guys and gals. Maybe that's it. However, something that I've put in front of the agency lately is the fact that when we don't give feedback, we are, quite frankly, preventing that person's growth. Feedback is an act of caring.
Yes.
And we're spending a lot of time on learning how to give feedback and also learning how to receive feedback. And also, how do I give feedback to my manager? How do I manage up? These are types of things that we have to get better at. We're 800 people, and wow, people need to know how they're doing, and they need to be heard. So, one of the things that I've said before, I'm not sure where, but someone asked me one of my mottos or something, and I said, people need people. People need people that will listen, and people need people that will listen and take action. And so my job and senior leadership's job is to actually take action. When you see something, say something, and we don't want negativity. Gary and I really, it's kryptonite to us. So let's talk about the issue at hand. Let's talk about why you didn't get a raise. Let's talk about why we let your buddy go yesterday. Let's have that conversation. Because again, going back to the possibility, like everything can be worked out, but it takes communication and it takes someone to give a what to listen to that person. So,
well, I think on the idea of feedback, Vistage uses a word called Carefrontation, and it's this idea that if you challenge someone from a place of caring, if I'm challenging you on something because it comes from a place that I believe in you, not that I'm trying to call you out, it makes all the difference in the world. There's no question. I also want a couple of other things too. First of all, millennials, really glad to hear, and Gary and some, comments that he's made in speeches I've seen him deliver also has that, I think, very positive and deservedly so, I think, feeling about millennials and real confidence in this generation. Simon Sinek did something recently that was kind of beating up on millennials a little bit. And I think, in some respects, I think that becomes kind of a cheap laugh, and it becomes something that plays into stereotypes that are very unfair, quite frankly. And I know it from the students that I teach and or mentor at Seton Hall University, or students that I work with at Rutgers or Northeastern. It's a very powerful generation. It's very exciting. It's very great to see a group of people who, a little bit of what you're talking about is, in terms of the impatience, is a bit of, me as a boomer, it was always good things come to those who wait, and for them, it's good things come to those who act. And I love that attitude about it. And you don't ever want to squelch that, in them. There's an excitement and enthusiasm and purposefulness, if you will, that is just really, very powerful and really terrific. And thirdly, just on the issue of conflict, because so I worked at Mullen, which is now Mullen Lowe, for a while. Incredible culture. And if you look at their logo, it's an octopus with boxing gloves, and because you kind of never know where you're going to get hit from next in some ways. But there's a lot of conflict in that organization, but it's not personal. It's a bunch of people fighting for the best idea, who really want excellence, who will mix it up, and they'll get to that place and they'll celebrate that creative product at the end. And then I'll go out for beer afterwards, kind of thing, because that's just part of the drill. And I would imagine when I look, just being on VaynerMedia's site and just looking at some of the incredible creative product that I looked at, I would imagine that process has plenty of conflict attached to it, right?
You got it. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir now, but creatives are not only highly emotional people, which is fantastic, and all people are anyway. We're giving subjective opinions on someone's soul that they've just created in PowerPoint or video. Like, it is so funny. We have the audacity to do that. However, that's our job. We have the audacity to do that because we want to make sure the end product, is exceptional. And if there is a moment where we can take good to great, we're going to do it. And sometimes you do have to duke it out. You do. What I hope for, what I pray for, what I spend a lot of time negotiating is that we're not doing it from a place of insecurity.
Right.
We're not doing it from a place of micromanaging. We're not doing it from a place of wanting to diminish someone's light. That is what I look out for. That's it. Anything else, you put on your boxing gloves and you go 10 rounds. That's fine. But let's play fair.
Oh, no doubt. It's not personal. And I'll tell you too, I think for any creative worth their salt who's participated in this process many times, regardless of whether they came up with the seed of a particular idea, there isn't anyone that could deny that a single person in a room is not going to put something together and have it be as powerful as you get a group of 20 other really smart, creative people who will take your idea and just totally take it to another place. And that's why that group and team is so powerful. And I think everyone recognizes that, your security in that process should be that you contributed something, to that you can see a piece of a question you asked, an idea that you brought forward, something you challenged, whatever that happened to be, that shapes the creative product that everyone in that room can declare victory and be proud to have participated in that process.
Oh, I love what you just said. Everyone in that room can declare victory, and that they were proud to be a part of that process. And what that means is collaboration and team and we versus I. And Leo, I've been in agencies for so long because I am not creative. I love to be around creatives. I'm a strategist. I think through stories and ideas, but I could never put pen to paper and draw or come up with a pie in the sky creation. And that's the draw of being at an agency for me.
But what's great though is that it's the strategists that make creativity possible.
True.
Because without the parameters of strategy, it's not like you give everyone just an open book, create whatever you want. I mean, that you will never get, it's the limitations that really drive creativity. It's the understanding and the focus that strategy offers that I think just, inspires, amazing work. And
that's right.
I just loved some of the, I watched, everything from Stainmasters to Swedish Fish to the Chicago Cubs. It's just fun to see, and to me, the strategy comes through. You know who this is for, you know why it's done, you know what it communicates about the brand, it's just, just brilliantly done, and not without strategy, that's for sure. So.
You got that right. And it's fun to be creating on mobile. It is really, really fun these days to think of things in a different format, to be writing short form content, to be writing sitcoms for Facebook advertisements. Like, that's pretty cool. And luckily we have someone at the helm who is a massive proponent of that. And proof is in the pudding. That's what he's doing.
Well, and you've really played a hand in creating a level of expectation now with that, because it's, quite frankly, it's annoying. If I get something that I want to play and it's not suitable to be played on my phone and I've got to go play it on my computer, I'm bummed about that. I want it to be meant for, my device, because I want to watch it now.
Yeah.
You
may have lost me. Yeah, you may have lost me by that point. Or if a pop-up comes on and I'm watching a video, it's like, you might have lost me. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think I want to just jump in with one other thing as we've been talking about people and the creation and what Gary and I are really about. And it's, we want to create excellence, and we want people to believe that they are unshakable, that they can do whatever it is that they dream about. They can. It just takes that first step. And as you said, millennials are great at action. And hopefully that's very contagious to the rest of the agency, And I think it is. I really do. I think it is. I've seen a massive uptick in the talent that we've been bringing in, which is terrific. And from all walks of life and shapes and sizes, meaning not just your run-of-the-mill creative that's been a creative for 15 years at said company, but someone that's worked with platforms, someone that has worked at a media company and has a creative slant. So we're really thinking differently about the talent. We're not bringing in that, cookie, as I said, the cookie cutter creative or strategists. We want people that think differently and push us forward.
So as you know, we had Pat Waters on the show. I was Chief Human Resources Officer for LinkedIn a couple of months ago. And one of the things that she described in terms of bringing people on in a fast-growing organization is that they have to be a plus in some way, like an ad, a skill ad, a culture ad, a diversity ad, something that just, completes that that adds to the fabric of the organization in many respects. And to your point, not so much about, okay, here are the strict criteria and experience and everything that we expect from every single person who comes in, but it's a much broader and much more open view of the kind of people that can be successful at LinkedIn. So, can you hear me? Okay. Kind of people that be successful at LinkedIn. So, in your case, while there's not a checklist necessarily, what would you suggest are the things that you believe make people successful at VaynerMedia? What does that look like for you?
So I love what Pat Waters has said, by the way, and a big fan of hers. We used to be a company that was all about culture fit, and if you knew how to type, great, you're hired. Oh, you like Dave Matthews, and I like Dave Matthews, and you were at that show. Oh my God, you're hired, Leo. That's terrific. Eddie Vedder, I like Eddie Vedder. You like Eddie Vedder? Let's do it. You surf, great. I can teach you how to code. I can teach you how to write.
Exactly.
Okay, we did that for a very long time. And we have a lot of incredible talent because of that, because they've been with us from the beginning. They are Vayner through and through. They have our DNA, and they joined us because they were family, they were culture fits, and we taught them skills. Now we are hiring for skill set fit culture addition. The culture addition encompasses diversity and inclusivity, of course, but we have gotten more specialized. We need experts. If you think you might know a little bit of social media and how to place Facebook ads, we need someone that's really done it right now. Speed is so important to us. Teamwork and speed is super important. So we've changed our mantra, skill set fit. And there are certain roles that actually do need to take somewhat of a data set test if you're on the media team, of course, because you are dealing with numbers and a lot of finances and money. A lot of things we still can teach, of course. We can teach proper email writing, and we can teach someone to dig for insights. But we're looking for people that are more specialized now. And keeping diversity, inclusivity at the forefront. That is a must. It's so interesting that you brought this topic up, and I love it. On the plane down here to Chattanooga today, I was reading an article in the Times from 2015, and it is called "Guess Who Doesn't Fit In at Work." Literally, it's on my phone. I was reading it, and it is all about this idea of the move from culture fit to more specialization. It's so top of mind. With that comes the growth and development and training and training initiatives that we must do to keep people current, to keep people relevant, and to grow and develop people, but also to keep people engaged. So we're not Facebook. We're not going to have, we're 800 people. We're not 15,000 people. So we're not going to have the same L&D necessarily, but we want to be. We want to do it in a Vayner way.
So I guess you're not 15,000 people yet, I think maybe we can say. But I would like to just have you add, just before we sign off today too, is in addition to some of what you just described in terms of what's next as far as your approach to hiring, if there are any particular things you'd like to share just about what's next at VaynerMedia. That would be really exciting, I think, for our listeners to learn about as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So we have taken a big step into the water in terms of AI. We have something called Vayner Smarts. So it's a Vayner Smart team, which is only playing with Alexa and AI and robotics and drones. That's really, really exciting. It's, I don't know, maybe we're about 9 months old. So we're really conquering the voice activated world, Alexa and Echo. We have done some great expansion into Europe with our London office, which has been very exciting. A lot of work on the media side. And so we started in London in June of 16. Really thought we'd start with a drip, 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 and we took off like a rocket ship. So Alexa, as I said, London and the expansion into Europe is extremely exciting. Expansion globally is going to be really exciting. We're just batting our eyelashes now and doing some flirtation with some work in different countries. We have a portion of the company called Vayner Talent, which is run by Lindsay Blum, and I couldn't be more excited. It's basically using the Gary Vaynerchuk model with incredibly talented people such as Beth Comstock and some artists and musicians, and really turning the Beth Comstocks of the world into media arms. And so that's really, really exciting as well. And I would say the last thing is probably Vayner Experience, led by Kim Garcia, who's been at Vayner for about 4 or 5 years now. And this is really taking Vayner Media into the world of experience. So what that means is what that means is potentially Vayner Media at the Super Bowl, conferences, and some really, really exciting experiential ideas. So we got a lot cooking over there with 800 people.
Well, it just really sounds wonderful. Certainly sounds like a wonderful place to work. It sounds like it's going to be a wonderful place for people to work for many years to come, and a lot more of them, I bet. And so, again, just so excited to have you on the show, Claude Silver, Chief Heart Officer for Vayner Media, and just so happy you could join us today. And thank you so much for all of your insights and everything that you shared with our listeners today.
Thank you, Leo. It's been a pleasure. I loved it.
Thanks for joining us today. To learn more about Peer Advantage, to submit questions to Leo and our guest, and to subscribe to the Year of the Peer podcast, please visit us at leobottary.com. It's leobottary.com. This podcast is produced by me, Randy Cantrell, hosted, of course, by Leo Bottary. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod, Vibe Ace, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license.